I've made the decision that I'm only going to bring in positivity and good readings and joy in my life. I don't have to worry. People are, you're worried about evil and you're worried about, no, I don't worry about any of that because I've already made the decision.
Yes.
So that is not attracted to me.
So welcome to Tapping In. Today, we're going to be diving into the world of intuitive readings. We're going to learn how it works and how you can tap in. And I got a special guest for you today. We got Lisa Huscher. She's super amazing. You guys may recognize her from the Real Housewives of Orange County. I mean, what a hottie, right? And what's so great about her is her intuitive gifts. She's also an author and she's a transformational guide. So she can help you go from feeling like crap to feeling amazing. So she's going to share some tips and techniques with us today to help you guys to tap in. So I'm super excited. I don't want to waste any more time. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. I'm so excited to have you. So for something new to this work, what is an intuitive reading?
I like to tell people that in kind of a nutshell, it's taking what's inside and bringing it outside so that you can better see it. So a lot of the times, we have all these feelings about things, hunches, but we don't really understand them. So it helps bring those things to the surface. And then I help kind of bring some clarity to it.
Amazing.
Well.
So if somebody has a block where they don't feel like they can trust themselves, is there a technique or something that you say to them or something that you do to kind of help them get that ball rolling?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think that especially in these times too, we're so overwhelmed with everything going on, people telling us things, the things that we're seeing on social media. It's a lot of sensory overload.
That's so true.
And so some of the things that I do in my workshops are I take them out of the situation so that they're not being influenced by, anybody around them. And I take them through a couple exercises, right? So I take them through an exercise on clairvoyance, which is clear seeing.
Right.
Help them to understand what it looks like if they're able to see things. A lot of times people are able. Other times they're not. And they say, hey, sometimes I hear things. So I take them through an exercise on clairaudient, which is being able to hear things. So it's really taking them through exercises so they can experience what it is to be able to see things or hear things or feel things. So the next time they're in a situation, they have something to compare it to. Like, hey, does this feel like when Lisa took me through this exercise? No, this feels a little bit different. Okay, well, that could be somebody in your ear telling you something negative and not necessarily your intuition telling you something.
Yeah, I love that too, because it really starts to make you discern what's yours, what's coming from that higher space, and is it an energy that I just walked into? Because we're never taught that, right? We're never taught that we are these sensitive beings that pick up on all these different channels. So it's really becoming familiar to who am I? What do I feel like, right?
Yeah, and what belongs to me and what belongs to her or him, especially for people that are very sensitive. You hear that all the time about empaths or people that are sensitive. They're like, oh, I'm around this person and I feel really sad, or I'm around this person and they make me feel very, anxious. So really understanding, are the emotions really yours? That's important too, right?
That's a huge one. And also teaching them, like, you can feel the emotion, don't live in it.
Right.
Like, let it go now. Get the information and let it go. Because so many people, they wear it as a trophy, right? Or it becomes their identity. Like, I can't walk into that room because the energy is so low and then I'm going to be so low. And I'm like, don't become identified with being a sponge or a reader of energy. Like, get the information and now reset and let it go.
Yeah, and acknowledge it, and then also create balance in your life where you're going to be going situations like you're going to a concert or you're in a group with a lot of people. Hey, maybe after that you're going to go home and just chill for a little bit or take a bath. If you're sensitive, you're not going to go like, I'm going to go to Coachella and go to back-to-back concerts and wonder why I don't feel good.
That's such a great point, because we don't take the time sometimes, because we don't realize, hey, clean. Just like you do the dishes, you clean your room, clean your energy field.
Yeah.
Now, what is it that you do to prepare for a reading? Like, how do you get your energy ready?
For me, I'm very sensitive to sound.
Okay.
So I find that I even go onto Spotify and I find the different hertz.
Right.
You know, they have it like motivation or peace or, manifestation, whatever it is. And I find something that resonates with me that feels good.
Yeah.
And I listen to sound. So that helps me raise my vibration. It gets me into a place of balance and peace. And then the other thing I do too is, and this is something I also teach in my workshops, is I enjoy the sensation of what joy and love feels like, recreating that emotion, even though I'm by myself, so that when I'm with the person I'm giving a reading to, I'm walking in, I'm feeling love, I'm feeling compassion, I'm feeling joy for this person. And to me, that helps connect with them as well.
I love
So
hearing
I elevate that. Yeah.
Because so many healers talk about that, right? We're all about raising our frequency and feeling gratitude, feeling joy. And it reminds me that I feel as though we want to hear our higher selves, or when we're trying to connect to a deceased loved one, it's usually when we're at our lowest, right? Like we feel so bad and I can't hear my higher self and I feel so disconnected. And what we don't realize that we have to slowly kind of move out of that denser energy and just open up our heart, even if it's just a little bit, to start to allow that higher frequency that we're trying to connect to can come through. Right.
No, absolutely. And that's such a good point. And one of the things that I've learned through my life, because my dad passed when I was only 2, and then my mom passed when I was like 23. So I've had to learn these things. But that is also something that I teach. And what I do is we go through and we create, it's a visualization exercise, and we create a childhood memory, because it's before, typically before trauma, before anything happens, people pass. And what it feels like to feel that joy of being a child and being loved and cared for. And so we're recreating that emotion. We know what it feels like. And then I tell people, you are able to give this to yourself, the self-love. You've recreated it. It doesn't go away.
Right.
So now as an adult, anytime that you're in that position where you feel like you were saying, you've lost a loved one, you're at that low point, and you're looking for outside external things to provide that care and comfort.
Right.
You can give it to yourself by going back and recreating those memories and those, going back to that. And that does elevate you. It gets you back and saying, I can do this. I can get through this. And it also creates a more of an open space to connect with people that have passed, or, to connect with what's going on in your life too. So you don't feel like you're just like on autopilot.
Alone. What I love about that too is I can automatically feel my foundation getting stronger. Because again, when I'm looking for that validation from social media or from a family member or from a teacher, which so many kids are doing, from their friends, right? They're always looking outside of them. It's almost like you're spilling your energy constantly and just lowering it. And I love what you said, because it's all about stop doing that. Bring that joy back to you. And again, you can feel the friskiness of it. Like the minute you start to feel that joy and self-love again, you don't feel so alone.
Right. And then your attraction, what you're going to start attracting changes as well, right? Because then we get into all of the law of attraction. So the lower you are, you're going to keep continuing to attract the negativity around you, or the people that are telling you things that, like we said earlier, that aren't necessarily your beliefs or your feelings or your emotions. But it's a power that they get from being able to put that on somebody else to try to elevate them. So that's something that, especially with like the teenagers and the young adults that are really trying to connect with their own self, right, is to be alone in that. And what does that feel like? And okay, being alone like this and being with somebody who's doing all, giving me this negativity or whatever, it feels very different.
Feels very different.
Yeah.
I think so many kids need to do that nowadays, like unplug, go for a walk outside, or just like sit in your room and pause and go inwards. Start to get to know yourself. And even if you don't know what that is, for me, it's going back to feelings. like see if you can spark that feeling of
Yeah.
love, because then it's you connecting to you. So when you're doing a reading, do you believe in protection, or is it just more about creating boundaries for yourself?
Well, actually, the answer would be both. So creating boundaries are important whether you're doing a reading or not doing a reading, right? So it's always good to create boundaries and know what your limits and your capabilities are. And what I tell people as far as protection is the easy one, the creating the invisible shield of white light surrounding your body. And this helps also for detracting the negativity out in the real world as well. So doing both of those things, I think, is important.
That's good. So you don't wear the Italian cuoricino and walk around. I remember my grandmother would be like, walk into a room, make sure if you're not wearing your cuoricino, have the horns. And I'd be like, who's attacking me? I'd be a little kid, like a ninja. Like,
I think sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
And so what's important is, what I love about your question too is sometimes people are afraid to get readings because they're like, I don't want to hear anything bad. I don't want to hear anything negative. They're afraid.
Yes.
And what I tell people is two things. One is I don't do those kinds of readings. I do positive and I do uplifting readings for your higher good.
Yes.
To make you feel crappy, that's not higher good for you.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. The other thing too is I've made the decision that I'm only going to bring in positivity and good readings and joy in my life. I don't have to worry. People are like, you're worried about evil and you're worried about, no, I don't worry about any of that because I've already made the decision.
Yes.
So that is not attracted to me. I can walk anywhere and not worry about it because I am in a state of being of protection. Yeah. And positivity. So things that are positive activities. So if you're going to listen to music, make sure it's positive music, right? And the message is positive.
Right. Draw, dance, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like get creative, move your body, shake things up,
for sure.
reconnect to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that you do intuitive readings, right? But you're also a very powerful medium. So how are the two different when you're channeling, say, your higher self and getting intuitive messages as opposed to receiving a message from a deceased loved one? Does it feel different? Do you do something different to?
I do because I really, because when you're channeling and you connect with somebody that's deceased, it is more, for me personally, it's more exhausting and it's more emotional, right? So it's more taxing on me. So I've created a space for myself where I'm only allowing that at certain times. So I'm not like some of these mediums that walk around and are like, oh, your mother's talking to me or your dad's telling me. I mean, sometimes.
Right.
But if I did that, then I would be
in the car passed out.
Yeah. I'd be like, what did he say? What? Who's talking to me now? So I've created, it's like boundaries. I've created some boundaries for myself where I don't do that as much. And so, but I'm opening myself up to more of the intuitive field. The connecting with somebody, there is some similarity in the sense that being clairvoyant,
Yes.
I see photos or pictures or like a movie playing. So oftentimes when somebody's passed, they're showing me a photo or a picture or something like that, a movie, and I'm describing that to somebody, right? Which is very similar to intuitive message where I'm also seeing a picture. So those things are for me,
It's very similar.
are very similar. It's being placed from wherever, it's being placed from. The difference is typically when someone's passed, I will hear their voice talking to me. It will be a little more an out of body experience. And that's probably why it's more taxing. So it's more of a voice. But both of them are very similar with an intuitive reading. I do give details and specifics as mediumship. They'll give me details and specifics so that validates for the person I'm talking with that I'm actually talking to somebody that, that I wouldn't know the information about.
One thing too, I find with intuitive readings and mediumship, where the intuitive sometimes just kind of flows through you a lot faster. At least for me, I feel that it's just like, I don't have to interpret almost, like it's just like the message just flows through for that person and it's kind of gone.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the times that I've had really with the mediumship, the cadence is different. So the cadence in my intuitive voice, I can control, right? With the message, right?
Yes.
And when I'm talking to somebody, the cadence is different when I'm trying to either catch up with somebody that's talking. This has happened to me when either the person's talking to me is talking to me in broken English, which has happened before, where I had it was a family member of my ex-sister-in-law. Her father had passed. So, and I was walking through an airport, and it was so funny. She tells me this story. She goes, "Oh, we were all sitting around, and then we decided to call you." And I was walking through the security, whatever, at an airport, and he started talking to me, and I was talking to the whole group, and they're Italian as well, but he was doing kind of broken English. So he would give me Italian, and I don't speak Italian, so right. Italian words. I'm like, this is what it means. You have to translate this. So it was confusing, and I'm like, what does that mean? And so they were translating it into English. Amazing. So there was a song that was actually an Italian song that he told me, and they translated it to English, and it was actually the song that he had sung to her when she was a child.
Oh,
so
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and he was talking so fast. Yeah, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Talking as fast. I'm like, hold on.
Yeah, give me a mic.
Because I didn't want to forget. He was sped up, right? Yeah. So that's an example. Another is somebody who's passed, maybe that has a mental illness, or maybe like schizophrenia, or something like that. They might come to me in the form that this person remembers. Right. So sometimes I'll be like, it's too much. They're talking too fast, or it's the ideas are broken, or I'm having a hard time following. Right. And she'll be like, oh, well, there was a mental illness, and there was sort of this manic depressive kind of thing,
and it totally gets validated by the sound. Like, it makes sense, and that's why it's coming through.
Because I'm like, I'm having a hard time following, so I will take on the energy of the person, whether it's fast or whether it's very slow and relaxed. I will take that on, and when I'm doing intuitive, I control the energy more.
And one thing I love about this work too is the more we do it, again, we start to discern when we are channeling another energy, where people will say, I don't know what happened. Something just came over me, right? And before we were just like, oh, it's one of your own personalities. But now it's kind of like, oh, maybe,
my friends tell me
just take over you.
My friends tell me they know because I change. They see it.
Right.
See, I'm not watching myself. They're like,
your face
we know
change.
You're channeling over there, because we could tell you changed. You completely changed.
Yeah.
So,
and again, what I love about that is we think we have this one face, right? We look in the mirror and we're just like, this is who I am. But again, when you start to channel different energies, it's almost like something superimposes onto you. And again,
as long as I look good, I don't care what the face is.
As long as it's a hot, deceased person.
Like, no ugly faces here.
You're all hunched over. Not this guy again. Quasimodo's coming through. But again, it's all about becoming aware that we are energy beings and that we are channeling constantly, but it's being able to reset. How do I reset, come back to center, come back to me, and let all that other stuff go? Which is so fun. So tell me a bit about your book, Becoming Happy.
So this is a collaborative book, and my partner, Kim, and I have a group called High Vibe Soul Sisters. So it's a women's group, and we do events, we do retreats, we do stand baths, and we have a book coming out. It's called 35 Ways to Spark Joy in Your Life, and it's a collaborative book with 35 women. And each has their own chapter, and they talk about how they spark joy in their life. And everybody's different. And as we said earlier, everybody's unique, and everybody has their own ways. And a lot of these women have been through different things. And this is sort of a way for them to share their story, and then also, help other women too if they've gone through something similar.
So that's what tapping in is about. Yeah. Tapping in is bringing in different people to tell their story, because even though we may do the exact same thing, your frequency is going to reach a certain audience that's going to be different than mine. So collectively, we're helping to raise consciousness. It's like I can tell my kid 100 times to do something, and they're like, it bounces off their head. And then somebody will walk in and say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh my gosh, you're a genius.
Yeah.
You're like,
You know what I do for that now? when that happens, I say, remember I told you that. Remember I told you that. Or text it or write it down, because when it happens, and I'm like, see, I told you that.
I want the credit.
Yeah, I always want the credit. My husband's like, oh my gosh, she wants the credit. I'm like, yeah, I want the credit.
Now, if you were to give our audience, one seed of advice to help them on their journey, but with that seed.
You know what? It's very simple. The first thing that came to me when you said that was trust. It was trust. They always talk about, when you're taking a test, how, like a multiple choice test, how your first guess is typically the right guess, but people second guess themselves and then they pick another one. That's true with intuition. You trust your first instinct and your first choice.
I love that. That's so important. Can you give any tips on how to build that? Sometimes I feel like even with myself, I have a lot of that self-doubt, right? It's like, should I do this? Should I do that? How do I get myself out of that mindset where I can start to trust myself? Is it the same as you were talking about earlier, where it's like little baby steps, right? Or
well, I mean, yeah, there's practice there, but I think it's also like self-acknowledgement. When you do have when you have a success, when you feel that intuitive inkling, right?
Yes.
And you act on it and it works for you, even if it doesn't work for you, it's your choice, right? It's your decision. Give yourself a pat on the back and just say, hey, you know what? Whether it worked or not, I made the decision. Somebody else didn't make it for me. I'm making it. And that builds confidence. So each time that you have that, like I said, whether it's success or not, acknowledge it, because it's the confidence in yourself that builds the trust within you, right? If you're listening to other people keep telling you things, whether it's right or wrong, it's not going to build your confidence. You're going to rely and continue to rely on other people for those decisions.
That's such great advice, because I feel like right there, it's also dissolving an old program, especially when you're brought up constantly having to go through a bunch of family members. Like, did you ask so-and-so about this? Did you get this person's opinion? And you're brought up always to look outside of yourself. And what I love what you're saying is pause for a second and start to go inward so that you can build that relationship with yourself, knowing how it feels, as opposed to, and we all do it, right? When you have to do something and you start to ask other people, again, it feels like you're leaking.
Yeah, and I think too, for me, I practice without consciously practicing, because I was alone for a long time, raising myself, from my early 20s, completely alone, with no siblings. So I had to come up with, okay, how am I going to navigate now without listening to, or not having that, sounding board of a parent. So for me, I've adapted, but I've also adopted these things. So now that's how I'm okay. If I'm alone, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So I think that you never know when in your life you're going to either be alone or feel alone. So you have to be able to trust yourself and know that in any situation, you're going to be okay because you trust yourself.
That's huge. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. We're going to leave on that.
Remember, I said that.
She said that. She said that. That's so good. We're going to leave on that high note, because that is so amazing. And I definitely want you back on the show. That was so much incredible information.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. And for you guys, I hope you enjoyed her intuitive tips and you can try them and start trusting yourself. You heard it from her. Lisa, get that. Write that down. Write that down for yourself. And until next time, you guys, keep tapping in.
If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieco.com.